Hey guys, in this video we are going to work on the navigation bar. So we are going to create these icons and also the search box. And we are also going to work on these pages tabs. These tabs are the links to navigate through our pages. And also we are going to work on search icon for small screens. So the search input box will appear only when we click on this icon, as it is shown here. So let's get started building this navigation bar. Let's create a new repository for our application. And let's give it a new name. And for the time being, we are going to make it a private. Add readme file. And this is our main branch for the project. So let's create the repository. And now let's copy the link for SSH. Let's now create a new folder to clone our repository inside it. And let's use the terminal to navigate to this folder. And now let's clone our repository inside this folder. Now let's open the project in Visual Studio Code. And let's open the terminal here. Create next application. Let's call it Next. And we are going to use Typescript. We created the next project in a new folder because we need another one for Sanity. Now let's navigate to our folder and let's install Material UI. From this installation menu, let's copy this command and let's paste it here. And also we need the icons. This default font, we are gonna need it later. Now let's copy the Material UI icons and let's paste it here. Let's create here git ignore file and add inside it node modules and also the hidden file in OS. Because Next.js is using server rendering, not just client rendering, we need to add some configuration so Material UI will work properly with Next.js. Let's go to the main repository of Material UI. And let's go to the examples. Next.js with Typescript. Now let's open package.json. We need to install here some packages. Here we've already have these packages for Material UI. So let's install the missing one, the server and the cache. Let's copy first cache. And let's copy the server package. Now we need to create some files. From pages we need here the app and document. Let's start with document page. And let's copy the whole code. And here let's create this document page. And paste the whole code here. And we need to add here the link of the default font for Material UI. So let's go back to Material UI and copy this link. And let's paste it here. And let's save. We need also to add these files. Now let's update app page. Let's go again to pages, then app. And let's copy the whole code and replace everything here. Now let's create these missing files. You can find them here in the source folder, but I'm not gonna call it source. I'm gonna call it another name. So let's create here new folder. Let's call it utils, and inside it MUI. And let's create the first one, this file. Let's copy the whole code. And let's paste it here. Let's save and go back to copy the other file. We are gonna need this link. So let's copy it. This link component from Material UI is wrapping link from Next.js, so it will match the styling of Material UI. Now let's copy the last one. And let's create the theme. Let's paste it here. I don't need the font here because I added the link inside document page. So let's delete everything related to the font. And now let's add our custom theme. I'm going to update this primary color and also the secondary one. And let's add background. We are going to use this color as default. And for papers, we are going to use this color. Let's add color for the text. And this will be the primary color. Now let's save our theme. And let's go to the pages to update the import of these files. Let's update it here. It is inside utils and MUI. And let's delete the font here as well. And from here. Let's save this and go to app. And do the same update. And let's save here as well. Now let's start building our navigation bar. So let's create the components folder and a new folder for navigation. Inside it nav.tsx. And let's build this component. We are going to use App Bar from Material UI. And let's add position to be sticky. We need it all time to be shown on top of the page. And inside the toolbar component from Material UI. And here let's add icon button for the menu. This is the icon. And let's make the size large. Edge to be started to remove the margin from the left. And color to be inherit. And let's give it margin from right to push the logo a little bit away from this icon. Now let's go to the index page and add this component. Let's delete all of this code. And let's add our navigation bar here. And let's start our application. It's running on localhost 3000. And here is our navigation bar. And this is the menu icon. Now let's continue working on this navigation bar and add the other icons. Let's add here the link component we've just created. We need to wrap the logo with this link. This is the link here. And the href will point to the main page. And let's add the logo here. Let's add typography from Material UI. And let's add the name here. Styling or the variant is h6. But the component we need it to be h1 because it is important. And let's add new wrap to keep the whole letters of the logo together. Let's change the color of the link to be inherit. And let's remove the decoration of the link. Text decoration is none. And let's save and check. And here is our logo and it is a link. We can see the link down. And let's add here box to contain the search input. We need to create a component for that search form. Let's add a style for this box. For small screens, we don't want it to be shown. And for other screens, we need it to be blocked. We need a component for this search form. So let's create this component. Let's create folder and call it search. Inside it, the search form component. And let's start building it. This box will be the parent for the search icon and also the search input. So let's add some styling. We need it to be position relative because we need to position the icon to be absolute. And let's give it border radius. We are going to use the default radius of Material UI theme. We can access the theme object in two ways. The first way, we passed it here as a props in the theme context provider. So we can access it here as a prop or parameter in an arrow function. Or the other way, we can import it directly from our theme. This is the object we created. Here we created it from Material UI theme. I'm gonna use both ways here for reference. So here let's use the first way as a prop. And let's give it background color. We are going to use alpha from Material UI. It is the same as RGBA. And let's use here the other way to import the theme. Let's import it manually here. And now we can access this object here. We are going to give it white color with opacity. And when we hover over the search box, we need to increase the opacity of the color. So let's copy the same here. And let's increase it to 25. And let's give it margin from right 2 and from left 3. Now let's add here the search icon. We are going to add this icon. Let's use search icon from Material UI. And let's add the styling. Let's give it padding using the theme object. From top and bottom 0 and from left and right 2. And let's give it height 100%. Position absolute. Pointer events to be none. And display to be flex. To center the icon in this container. Align items to be center. And also the justification to be center. Now let's create the search input. The component is form because we need to submit this search input. And let's use input base from Material UI. Placeholder to be search. And let's add some styling. Color to be inherit. And let's update the class of the input. Let's give it padding. From top right and bottom 1 and from left 0. The width is 25 characters. Padding from left we need it to be dynamic, so we need to calculate it. It is 1 em plus theme spacing of 4. Let's save this component and import it in the navigation. Let's add it here. And let's save and check. And here is our search inbox. But the hover effect is not working. There's some mistake. Let's go back and fix it. Here it was supposed to be colon, not dot. So let's change it. And let's save and check again. And now the hover effect is working. And for small screens it is disappearing. So let's add the icon here. Let's go back to the nav component. And let's add here box. And give it a flexi grow to be 1. This is we just needed to fill the whole gap to push the rest of the icons to the other end. Now let's add here stack from Material UI to contain all of the other icons. Gap between these icons 1. The direction of the stack is row. And let's align items to be center. And let's add here the search icon. Let's use search icon from Material UI. And let's give it some styling. Display for small screens to be inherit. And for bigger screens to be none. And let's give it color to be inherit. Let's check our design. Now for small screens we can see only the icon. And let's add the other icons here. One for the shopping cart and another one for the account. Let's create first a component for the shopping cart icon. And let's call it cart icon. We are going to use icon button from Material UI, and inside it the icon we are gonna use shopping cart icon, and let's add size for the icon button and the color to be inherit, and let's add here the badge to show the items quantity in the cart, color secondary, and badge content, let's give it 5 items, and let's save and import it in our nav component. Let's check, and here's the shopping cart, but I'm gonna push this badge a little bit to the right and also a little bit down, and we are going also to add the pulse to notify the user or the client that he has items inside his shopping cart. So let's add here styled badge. We are going to update the badge component. So we will receive theme and we will retain an object with these changes. Let's update the class of the badge. We will push it to the right 3 pixels and also to the bottom 13 pixels. We are going to give it border. We will use the background of our paper inside our theme. And padding top and bottom 0, left and right 4 pixels. And we are going to add animation for the pulse. Let's call it pulse every 2 seconds infinitely. Now let's create this animation. We called it pulse. In the beginning, when it is 0%, we are going to add some shadow, black color with opacity 0.3, and when it is 70%, we will spread it 8 pixels, and when it is 100%, we will set it back within these 2 seconds. Now let's use this new styled component here, and let's save and check how it looks. Now it is looking better, and we can see the pulse notification. Now let's add the icon of the account. Let's create a new component, and let's call it account icon. We are going to use icon button from Material UI and account circle icon from Material UI. Let's give it size large and edge to be end to remove the margin from right side, and color to be inherit. Now let's save it and import it in nav component. And let's save and check. Here are our icons, and for small screens we can see that the search inbox disappeared and we can only see the search icon. But here we need to add the functionality when we click on this icon to show the search input. We're gonna show it in dialog box. Let's create a state to open and close this dialog. Let's call it search open and set search open. And the default value is false. And when we click on that icon, we will open this dialog. So we will set search open to be true. And let's add a dialog here outside the app bar. This dialog will be shown only when the state search open is true. So let's add inside it our component search form. And let's add the props of this dialog. Open to be search open. And on close, we will set search open to be false to close it. And let's give it max width because we are just gonna use it in small screens. Now let's style the components inside this dialog box, which is our search form. So the position, we will make it fixed. And from top 10. Here let's add also styling for the whole dialog. We need it to be displayed only when it is small screens. And for bigger screens, we need it to be none. Let's fix this. And let's save and check. For small screens, if we click on this icon, we can see our search input here. It appears in fixed position inside dialog box that covers the whole screen. And for big screens, we can see that the dialog disappeared. It's only shown for small screens. And when we click outside the search input, the dialog closed. But we have problem here. When we open the search input, the focus is not on the search input. We can't type inside it unless we clicked first inside this search input. We need the typing pointer to appear automatically inside this input when we open it. So let's go to our search form component and extract the state open and set open. The Typescript will complain now because these parameters are unknown for this component. So let's declare here type. Let's call it props. Open, it is from type boolean. And set open, it is dispatcher from React. And the specific action to set the state. And the state is from type boolean. It is the same as this one. And now let's add it here. We need here a reference to access that input search. It is from type HTML input element. And the default value is null. Now let's use effect. And this use effect will depend on the state open. Let's assign this reference to the input component. And let's check the state. If it is open, when we open this dialog box, we need to move the focus to this search input. Now we can see that the Typescript is complaining here because there are parameters or props to this component, open and set open. So let's pass them here. Open is our state search open. This is our state here we've created before to control this dialog box. And set open is the set search open. Let's copy it and use it up here because we used it twice. And let's save now and check. Let's open it. And here we can see the typing pointer is automatically inside this search input. You can type directly. And for big screens, we can see here the search input. Now let's add the pages tabs. Let's call it tabs nav. And let's start building this app bar. We will use app bar from Material UI. Position to be sticky. And let's add container because we need it to be in the middle. And let's add the tabs. Variant scrollable. And scroll buttons to be auto. Text color inherit. And the indicator color to be the secondary. This is the stripe shown under the tab to indicate that this tab is active. And for value, we need to create state. This is only for the time being to control the tabs, but later we are going to use context provider to control this state. Let's give it default value to be 0. And let's assign it here. On a change, we will receive the event and the new value of the tab, and we will assign it to the state. And let's add the first tab. The label of this tab will be home. And let's copy it 3 times. One for products, and one for account, and the last one for about page. Let's save it and import it in our nav. Let's add it here inside the main app bar. And let's save and check. And here are our tabs. And we can see the indicators underneath the text to show that this tab is active. But this tab can't navigate through the pages. We need to wrap it inside our component link. And in the meantime, we need the props to be passed from the parent tabs to these children's tab. So in this case, we need to use forward ref from React. Let's create it outside the component. And let's call it link tab. We will use forward ref from React to pass the props and also the reference to these children. And let's make these tabs to be li element, for example. And we need to specify the props we are going to pass them here. So let's create type here. Let's call it link tab props. We need to pass the href. It is a string. And also the label. It is also string. Let's add it here. And we are going to receive the props here. And we will retain the new component. So we will receive the href, the rest of the props from Material UI, and also the reference. So let's wrap the tab inside the link component. Let's copy one of them. We will receive here all the props passed from Material UI, including the label, and also the reference here to control this tab. The component is li, as we specified here. And let's add the href here. It is the one we received in the prop. The color, it will be inherit. and we will remove the decoration of the text. This warning because it needs display name for the React component. We are not gonna add display name for every component. We need to disable this one. So let's go to the linter and add a new rule. React display name to be off. Now the warning is off here. And let's copy this new component and replace all the tabs here. And let's add also href. You can see that the warning that we need href as well. First one for the home page. Second one for products. And this one for account. And the last one for about page. Now let's create all these pages. Let's create the account page. And let's add the products page. We created folder here because we need one for products and one for the single product details. And the last one we need to add it for about page. Now let's check these tabs. We can see when we hover that the link appears down. So our functionality is working correctly. It is navigating through the pages, but in these new pages we can't see our app bar. So we need now to add layout for all pages. Let's go and create this component. Let's call it layout. We will add here all the components that we need them to appear on all pages. So let's add here the nav. And let's go to the main page and delete it from there. This is the home page. We will only add here a text to show that this is the home page. And let's delete all these imports. We don't need them anymore. Now let's go to the app and let's add the layout component here. And let's wrap the content of the pages inside container. Let's give it vertical margin of 5 and let's drag this component inside it. This component receives the content of every page. Now let's check. Our navigation bar is shown in all pages. Now let's push our work to our GitHub repository. Let's check our changes. And now let's create a new branch to push all our changes into that branch. Let's call it part 1. Let's check that it is the active one. Now let's add all the changes. These are our changes. Let's commit these changes with the message, navigation, and layout. And let's push to this branch. Now let's merge these changes into our main branch. We can see here our changes or our code. So see you guys in our next video.